Hello, everybody. How are we today? I hope everybody is doing well. Hopefully, my YouTube will work properly today. Um, it's been an insane day. I don't even know if my intro is working. So if you are watching, please let me know if my intro worked or not. Again, my YouTube's being weird today. Please know if just a second while I mute my YouTube on my phone. All right. How is everybody today? I hope everyone is doing well. So, how many people watched today's court testimony in the Melody Walker Ferris case? I did. And boy, oh boy, was it interesting. They brought in a lot of jail phone calls and stuff like that too, which made it a lot to listen to. I will let you guys know that. There wasn't a whole lot of testimony today. A good majority of it was just the jail calls. What did you guys think of those? Like, as many of you know, I have been keeping an open mind in this case, but I feel that those jail calls were fairly incriminating. I'm still not 100% convinced. But it definitely gives a different perspective. That's for damn sure, especially with her like giving specific instructions of things that people could and couldn't talk about. Like telling Rusty to tell Amanda that, she wasn't allowed to talk or things like that. So it was definitely a different perspective than what we've been hearing. I do have to say the prosecution did a pretty damn good job today. So yeah. Give me just a second. I am putting up my message on Facebook. And then we will get started on day 2 today. All right. So, without further ado, let's bring up our day 2 video and let's start processing it and talking through it some more. And feel free in the chat to talk about other cases that you want me to cover, all kinds of stuff. And I'll be going into the chat here shortly, and I will be making a Q&A on what cases do you want to see me follow. If I have an idea of what everybody wants me to follow, um, that will really help me hash out the cases that you guys want me to look into. As of right now, I am kind of just flying by the seat of my pants on this for these first couple and just going with cases that I know and that will be fairly big cases either way. Um, Also, I apologize if you hear any growling or any barking. My service dog in training is annoying my other uh, smaller, older dog, and she's a bit on the grumpy side. So, um, without further ado, let's get on to day two. Maybe. There we go. All right. Let's continue day two.
You're good.
Starting today, anyone can monetize with ads. As part of the all-new Beehive ad network, thousands of newsletters have already monetized. And it...
Says I'm done. All right, we'll take a short break. We'll take 10 minutes longer if y'all need to wander, but y'all can go down and get coffee, take a smoke break. You can sit down. All right, Mr. Ray, go ahead.
Good morning, Lieutenant.
Morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good.
All right, first, I want to start with you had made the statement with Mr. Focus on direct examination that when you go out as a crime scene technician, that you're very meticulous in what you're doing, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And y'all try to look everywhere you can, looking for evidence, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, when you got there on the 5th, you had testified previously that generally the first thing you do is talk to the detective in charge.
Typically. Yes.
Now, in this case, you didn't talk to Detective Hayes, did you? When you first got there.
I believe I went straight to the crime scene, who was leading the crime scene stuff, because they were already there.
Yeah, and that would have been Lieutenant Ballard.
Either Ballard or Shaw.
Okay. So those would have been the ones who were giving you directives on what you needed to do.
Correct.
Okay. Is it your understanding, though, that Detective Hayes is the actual detective who is in charge of the investigation?
Yes.
Okay. So Detective Ballard or Detective Shaw is in charge of the crime scene. Detective Hayes is in charge of the crime scene and interview.
Of the overall investigation,
okay.
Yes, because it all bleeds back into one another.
Okay. Did you ever talk to Detective Hayes about the case?
Have I? I mean, what you talking about while I was on scene, or are you talking about
while you're on scene within a relative? Let's say on the 3rd or the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th.
I mean, I'm sure we spoke if we were both out there, but I don't remember the nature of our conversation.
So it would have been Ballard or Shaw that gave you your directive to begin with the barn.
Correct.
Okay. Now I want to start. We're going to start with the tractor step, but we'll go to the Kubota, because you had done a lot of photographs of the Kubota. Now, you had taken touch DNA, right?
Correct.
You took 9 swabs from all over the Kubota.
Yes, I can give you the locations that I took it if you need me to.
Well, I was going to go through them, so just go ahead and list off the locations where you took the contact swabs.
Okay. So the first swab was obviously, I talked about using a control sample initially whenever we take them. So the first swab was the control sample, so it was just right out of the package into the box. The second sample was from the steering wheel. The third sample was from the 3-point hitch lever. That's the lever that raises the implement. That's the lever that raises the implement on the back up and down on the tractor. The power takeoff switch, that's what turns on the PTO that actually, if you have a bush hog or a mower or something that runs off a power takeoff on the back, it runs that. The fifth one was the hand throttle lever, which, it's like the gas pedal of a car, which throttles the engine up. The sixth one was the loader control, which is basically an arm that lifts the bucket on the front of the tractor up and down. The seventh was the directional shifter, which basically forward, reverse. The eighth was there's a handle on the left side of the tractor up on the fender, on the rear fender, that's utilized to grab to get on and off. That was the seventh. The eighth, excuse me, and the ninth was the ignition key itself.
So you took those 9 swabs.
Correct.
And eventually you packaged them up.
Correct.
And placed them into evidence.
Correct.
To your knowledge, were those swabs ever tested?
I don't know if they were tested or not.
Do you know whether or not they were sent to the crime lab?
I don't know.
Okay. Looking at number 35, the blood drop on the stair. Did you ever do any Blue Star testing on that?
I know on scene, I didn't, but Lieutenant Ballard sprayed the Blue Star on it after the evidence was collected, the swab was collected, and they also sprayed the RTV as well on scene.
Okay. And you took that sample, right?
You talking about collecting the blood sample right here?
Yes.
Yes, I did, sir.
And you packaged that up and that was sent off?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know if the results of that ever came back?
My understanding that it did.
Okay. So touch DNA, you don't know whether or not it was tested, but you believe that was tested?
Correct.
Okay. And by that I mean states the photo states 35.
Okay, this is honestly one of my other favorite parts of testimony because this really goes in depth as to what was not actually tested. And I feel that it's very eye-opening. It's after today's jail calls, for day 11, it's also another one of those things where while the prosecution did a really good job today, I don't feel that today's evidence really makes up for the lack thereof up until now. And so I want to hear what you guys think. What do you think as we listen to this testimony? Like, what for you guys is the deal breaker? What for you guys is that thing that made you go, oh my God, she's guilty, or oh my God, she's totally and completely innocent? Um, I'm really interested in hearing your guys' perspective on this. I'm still fairly torn about it all. I don't really have much of an opinion one way or the other as of right now. Um, but I do feel that the information in this particular testimony, and this string of testimony from day two is vital to the defense's case because it really is the beginning of the unraveling for the prosecution, and it was way too early in the trial for the prosecution's case to start unraveling this severely. This severely. I apologize. All right, we're going to go back to day two's testimony.
Now, with this Blue Star, do you have to get specifically trained into how to use it?
I mean, there's no real formal training class. I mean, there's directions on the package of how you mix it. Once it's mixed, you spray it. I mean, I've used stuff like Blue Star and luminol on scenes. I've also used it in photography when I took my crime scene photography class. So, I mean, I guess you could say per se that's training because you have to have different settings on the camera to take pictures like this. So there's no formal like Blue Star class or no formal, I would assume, no formal class for spraying chemical reagents or agents like this. But on the job training plus, I've used stuff like this in my photography class and stuff to learn how to take photographs of it.
Okay. Well, let's talk. Like you said, because you got to mix it. Like if I went to BlueStar.com, ordered some, got it. Is it like a powder that I mix with water?
I want to say it's tablets, I believe.
You believe it's tablets? What
yes.
do you mix it with?
Sterile water. So
sterile, okay.
Yes.
It has to be sterile water?
Correct. Usually, yes. So okay. you drop it in the water, you mix it, and then you spray it. And it tells there's directions on the I don't know without looking at the package, but there's directions on it. You know, parts per whatever, part water per tablet, or if that makes sense.
Okay. No, it makes sense. Did in this case with the Blue Star that was sprayed on the RTV, was, to the best of your knowledge, who mixed that?
I want to say Ballard did. I don't remember mixing it, but
it wasn't you.
I don't think it was me. No.
Okay. Now with the and I'll get to the RTV in a minute. Did you do any Blue Star testing on the actual tractor bucket?
I don't remember on scene. I know that it was later collected and taken to our evidence bay and redone by other techs, but I don't remember spraying it on scene.
Okay. And you went as the crime scene technician. I assume you went over that tractor with a fine-tooth comb.
Yes.
Okay. Did you find any blood or anything in the bucket?
No.
Okay. Just that one drop on stage 35.
You talking about the photo? Yes.
Yes.
Sir. Correct.
Now, that photo also, you had previously testified, you can't make any type of determination of whether or not that's a 90-degree drop, a smear, or anything like that.
It could be a 90-degree. It could be a transfer. There's no way I can conclusively give you an answer.
So basically, an easier way to say that would be is you cannot show any way that you don't know how that got there.
Agora Cyber Charter School is ready to put over 18 years of being a leader in online education to work for you. Dive into curriculum designed for the online classroom. Team up with Pennsylvania certified teachers trained in virtual instruction.
Nice!
Take control of your child's education journey.
Correct.
Okay. Now, you had also talked about with the Blue Star, is that it reacts to iron, right?
Yes.
All right. But you can also spray it, because I assume the package, does it come with any information about, hey, this information will give false positives?
I don't know if the directions do. I know that through my on-the-job training and other stuff, I know that, I mean, obviously.
Okay, so I know that this is going to just sound insane. There is somebody that works with the ME's office or the coroner's office. Loki, come on. Come on. I'm sorry. Loki's getting into stuff. Um, but it was like the assistant medical examiner, or the assistant coroner, whatever the hell she was, um, had stated in her testimony that the only thing that she knows that can cause a false positive with Blue Star is iron. Um, and I find that really interesting because this detective is about to give a whole bunch of things that Blue Star is reactive with. Um, and so pay close attention because I find it funny that um, a general officer and detective would know more about Blue Star than the assistant medical examiner or the assistant coroner, whatever the hell she is. Um, and so I think that this is funny, and it goes to show a lot of the ways that Blue Star can react and not really um, be much of a benefit to an investigation. And it also lets us know, like, all the various things that the Blue Star. Excuse me, you two. No, thank you. Um, it gives you more insight into the things that could cause Blue Star to react. And it also then makes you kind of question, is the DNA that they do have just reacting to Blue Star because it contains one of the many various things that Blue Star can react to? So I'm going to go back to our trial video for day 2, and let's see.
What we discussed earlier, false positives do exist, because obviously it'll fluoresce for iron itself, but it's a different type of fluorescence. It fluoresces quick and turns off. Imagine flipping a light switch on and off really quickly.
Okay.
That's
That's what I wanted to ask you about. So let's say I sprayed it right here on the floor, right? And it lit up. It's possible that it could light up and I could take a photograph of it and you could see it, right?
correct.
Okay. So I think you actually said it pops real quick and then
It'll pop. If it's just iron, it'll pop real quick and disappear. So you'd have to be extremely fast with your camera to be able to make that happen if you're going to do both.
Okay. Do you recall, did you do any of the Blue Star testing on any of the towels or hand cloths found inside the home?
No, I did not.
Okay. Now, the RTV, since we're on Blue Star, you remember what the RTV looked like, right? Okay. Orange, side by side.
Correct.
Right? All right. Now, you had stated in your direct examination that Lieutenant Ballard had sprayed Blue Star essentially all over the RTV, and it fluoresced.
In various locations, yes.
Okay. Now, so that stuff fluoresced, and you had taken, already at this point in time, because you did the tractor first, right?
Correct.
All right, so you're doing the tractor first, and then you go to help with the RTV, and it fluoresced with the Blue Star, but you didn't take any swabs of the RTV.
Correct.
Okay. None from the bed, none from the inside?
I didn't take any on scene, though.
Okay. Going back to the tractor real quick. Cause
yes, sir.
On this good picture yet. There was some other testing done on it later, but I just wanted to ask you. This is Stewart 21.
Okay.
You can see the seat in that, right?
Correct.
Do you recall when you were looking at the tractor, was the seat on the tractor, was it pushed all the way backwards?
I
If
don't.
you don't know, you don't.
I don't recall.
Okay. Do you recall whether or not you would have manipulated the seat while you were taking photographs and taking the contact swabs?
I mean, if I would have done anything while looking for evidence, I mean, typically tractor seats will fold up, you know, so if you grab for transport, you grab the back and flip them up. I mean, I may have done that to look underneath it, but I don't recall moving it forward or backwards.
Okay. I want to go ahead. During the break, I had showed you what had been previously marked as Stewart Defense 1 through 4, and then Stewart Defense 14 through 30. Do you have those photographs?
I do, sir.
Okay. And when you reviewed those, are those fair and accurate depictions of the photographs you took that day?
I would agree, yes, sir.
Judge, at this point in time, we'd move into defense exhibits 1 through 4 and 14 through 30 Stewart defense.
All right.
I said by two.
All right, they're admitted.
Okay. Stewart is going to be kind of, I think I've got it sorted out, but so we're going to look at 1 first, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so that's a photograph inside the barn.
Okay.
Okay, and in that photograph, looks like you got a water hose leading over to a drain, and then on the right side of the photograph, it looks like it's connected to a water outlet.
Yes.
Okay. Was this area of the barn, to the best of your knowledge, was any Blue Star ever used?
I didn't do it. I don't know if anybody else did, but I don't think so.
Did you take any swabs for potential DNA around any part of this part of the barn?
I did not know.
Okay. Now, number 2. I'll give it a test round. 2.
Okay, so now we're really starting to get into all of the various places that there could have been potential DNA evidence that there was no DNA actually taken from those areas. So, like the kitchen, the barn area, nothing was really taken off of the tractor. And I don't know about you, but I find it very odd that there were so many places that DNA evidence was not taken. What are your guys' opinions on it? How many cases do you know of or that you've heard of that so much DNA evidence was just left behind and not actually tested outside of the presumptive tests? Let me know in the comments, and we're going to go back to day 2.
That does nothing.
Just where you can click it up top. But
Let's see. That did nothing either. So,
I can see if it helps. I can see the mouse moving around up here on the screen. So.
okay. No, we're just trying to figure out if I can make it move smoother. This photograph is just essentially the same as number 1, just showing a different angle.
Correct, sir.
All right. Stewart Defense 3. Can you tell the jury what that is?
It's a drain that's in the floor of the barn.
Okay. Now, is that the same drain that you can see in 1 and 2?
Correct.
All right. And to the best of your knowledge, was any Blue Star used there or any DNA taken?
Not that I know of, no, sir.
Okay. And number 4, that's just a close-up picture of the
It's
drain?
a close-up picture of the drain to show the mulch and stuff that's on the drain.
Okay. And just to keep things in order, I'm going to go ahead and close those. Now, I turn your attention to number 14, Stewart Defense 14.
Yes, sir.
Now, in that photograph, that's upstairs in the apartment, correct?
It looks to be, yes, sir.
All right. And you're aware that that was Scott Ferris's apartment?
Correct.
When did you learn that that's where Scott Ferris or a person named Scott Ferris lived there?
I can't give you an exact timeline when I'll learn that, whether it was on scene or afterwards.
Okay, that's fine. So that is, I don't know why now it's decided to change. So that's 15. Is that a photograph looking into the bedroom of the apartment?
I mean, if you go to the next one, I would say yes. Looking at the 16, the next photo, yes, I would say it's going into the bedroom. That same dresser's in the photo.
Okay, so that would have been, at least you know now, that would have been Scott Ferris's bedroom?
Correct.
Okay. That was 14, 15, 16.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just going to show you now what is defense 17. That's the sink in the bathroom of the apartment.
I would agree with that, yes, sir.
Okay. And 18, that is the bathtub in the apartment.
Yes.
And number 19 is also the bathtub in the apartment.
Yes.
Now, regarding this bathroom, were any Blue Star sprayed or any swabs taken anywhere in the bathroom?
Not to my knowledge, sir, no.
Okay, now, if you have someone who is a suspect, which Scott Ferris was considered a person of interest in this case. Now, I don't remember if any of the testimonies stated exactly when Scott Ferris became a suspect or a person of interest in this case. But I do know that it was fairly early on that both Scott Ferris and Melody Ferris were considered persons of interest and suspects. And it seems like they very quickly ruled out Scott, and I'm not entirely sure why. The testimony on that has been like fairly convoluted. And I'm sorry, my autism struggles to follow with that one for some reason. I guess because there is so many moving parts to Scott, and when they considered him a person of interest and a suspect, because like cops were reaching out to him, telling him about evidence that they had found and just weird stuff. And to me, like, why are you telling somebody who is a person of interest about evidence? Um, Hold on one moment. I think a service dog of mine escaped the upstairs. All right. No, it wasn't the service dog that escaped the upstairs. It was the smaller one. Um, Sorry about that. My service dog in training, because he's still a puppy, is just always into everything and you can't quite trust him. He's such a cute stinker though. Um, he's over here in my face because I just called his attention to make sure that he was behaving, and it was his sister downstairs instead of him. Um, but yeah, so I feel that they ruled out Scott Ferris a little quickly and in very convoluted ways. And again, I don't understand why law enforcement and detectives and things like that would be calling Scott Ferris while he's a person of interest. They also interviewed him and his brother Chris Ferris together in a room at one point while Scott was considered a suspect or person of interest, however you want to put it. Which that's another one that I find odd. Like, if you have a suspect that you're talking to, why are you talking to him in a room with even a single other person, sibling or not? Like, I'm sorry, that is a big, huge red flag for me. That is a big no-no. Like, never let suspects together. You never know what they're going to say. And how can you testify that they didn't talk to each other or something in the midst of that at any point? Like, so yeah, I don't know. The only way you can ensure that they didn't talk to each other about it at that particular time is if you stayed in that room the entire time. Um, and so yes. Loki, please stop. No. Sorry, he's over here being a butt. Get your toy, baby. Get your toy. I'm not your toy. Get your toy. I know, you don't like when I tell you to do something like that. And you want to play with. I know. Um, so yeah, I feel like they didn't properly handle investigating the children. I feel like they looked at the children as if they absolutely in no way, shape, or form could have done this just because it's a parent. Um, and I mean, there's certain parts of this that I just can't seem to get past. And it's things like Melody's lover at the time, Rusty Barton, stating how he gave Melody a debit card to use whenever Gary cut off her funds. And I feel that it is a really interesting perspective that they believe that she did this for money. Because I feel like if her lover is able to give her a credit card that she could freely use whenever her husband cut off her funds, why does she need to worry about the financial help? Because clearly she's not wanting for anything anyway. Um, and like if Scott got cut off, that was his livelihood. His dad literally paid for everything. If Chris got cut off, again, that was basically his livelihood. Like, yeah, he had a job, he paid a lot of his own bills, but his dad paid for all the extra stuff. Um, you know, and I just feel like if anybody had the most to lose, it would be Melody. Like, Melody would have the most to lose if she did this, which then makes it less logical for me. Whereas the boys, they would be less likely to know that their parents were deeply in debt, like the defense claims in their opening statements. I also feel like the boys wouldn't really know for sure who the beneficiaries of everything are. Maybe there was talk between the boys and their dad where they were taking over the farm, or at least Scott was supposed to take over the farm. Um, and in that case, did something happen where Gary didn't have Scott, like, wasn't going to have Scott take over the farm? Was there a fallout over money and Gary was like, no, I'm cutting you off and that means that you're not getting the house anymore? And I also find it strange that the prosecution is hell bent on the fact that Melody was alone and the last one to see Gary Ferris, but her granddaughter Addison and Addison's cousin Cameron spent the night on July 4th. And the girls didn't notice anything off about their grandparents' house outside of the fact that they couldn't find Gary. Um, they stated that everything seemed perfectly normal, that their grandmother seemed normal. Just the only thing missing was Gary. Um, and then how do you explain this mysterious gun that only Scott knew about for 6 years? And then after that 6 years, miraculously, his ex-wife knows about it? What? Seriously? There's too many coincidences that we're expected to believe. And then there's no DNA evidence whatsoever because they're dropping the ball on the DNA evidence. You've heard they didn't take it from the kitchen, they didn't take anything from the barn. They took a few swabs from the tractor. Um, you hear that they took absolutely nothing from Scott Ferris's apartment as far as the DNA goes, nothing from the drain. And these are all places that to me, and maybe it's just because I am a true crimeaholic, um, but to me, I feel like floorboards, air ducts, drains, um, faucets, things like that, countertops, um, sink drain. If you have any like outside drain spouts, check those. Um, like we have a pipe for the sewage where I live, but you can still technically pour stuff down into it. That's the type of pipe I'm talking about, like outside. Um, because like you can dump bloody water down something like that, and you're still, I mean, it's going to be a very diluted sample, but you could very likely still end up with a DNA sample. Um, I mean, you would be more likely to get hair or something out of the drains that's potentially bloody. Um, I mean, there's just so many places I feel like that they should have checked and just didn't check. And I really feel like they dropped the ball so far, at least with the evidence. I really want to hear from you guys. Um, Anyone who is watching out in YouTube land, go ahead, drop in the comments what you think. How do you feel so far about everything that we've heard um, with this witness? Um, what are you anticipating on hearing? If you've already listened to day two, what are your thoughts on all of the DNA evidence that they just kind of left behind? Um, we're going to go back to the day two stream and we're going to watch some more. And I'll come back when I have more comments to give.
Now back to.
You'd rather get somehow lost.
You got some knowledge that you want to share? We thought you did. Now let's help you turn that into cash. Introducing
Well, let's go there. What's your next number you have up there?
The one that I have after is 20, which is it's the picture of the side of it. Looks like the side of a bed with a dog crate with pillows on top of it.
Okay. Let me do this real quick.
It says D20 on it.
D20. That's fine.
That's it.
All right, so you can see it. So D20, that's in the bedroom.
I would assume because there's a bed right next to it. So.
All right. And you can see that there's dog feces all over the ground.
Yes.
Okay. Did you see that a lot throughout the apartment?
I mean, I'd have to go back and review every single photo to look at it, but I mean, there was some you can see in the pictures, the next couple pictures in various locations.
Okay. Well, for the next picture, Stewart Defense 21.
Yes.
You can see that's also in the bedroom.
Correct.
Okay. You also found, where you photographed, a credit card for Gary Ferris, Bank of America. Do you recall that?
Uh,
And that's photograph 23, or I'm sorry, 22.
22. I don't recall where it was found or anything, but
Okay.
If
Do
it's
you
in my
know-
string of photos, I took it. So.
Well, my question is, did you find it and don't recall, or did you just take a photograph and another detective found it?
I don't know.
Okay.
So whether I was with another detective or whatever, and they found it, I know I take pictures to document everything.
I know, would it be fair, though, that if you found this, it was in the barn?
I mean, if you say so, but I mean, if it's in with the barn photos, then yes, it was in the barn.
It was in the barn. All right. So that's 22. And then 23 is a photograph of a laptop with an Under Armour sticker on it. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And do you recall where that was found?
I would assume in the barn, but I don't know exactly where in the barn.
Okay. Now, with that laptop, do you recall, was that laptop packaged up and taken into evidence?
I don't know if it was taken or not. I photographed it, but I don't know if one of the detectives took it.
Okay. And turn your attention now to 24. Is the computer's open, and then you have this series of letters and numbers, looks possibly passwords. Did that have any significance to you, or you're just documenting?
I'm just documenting.
Do you know whether or not that, along with or was that in the computer taken into evidence, or you don't know?
I don't know.
Okay. Just took the photograph and
Typically, when you're photographing a crime scene, you document everything you can and
move on.
move on. Yes.
Okay. Now, you also, because you had testified with Mr. Fogus, that you had also found several bullets, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, let me go ahead and pull this up. You recall out at the scene, or in the barn, actually, you found 38 caliber special bullets.
Correct.
Right? You took some photographs. I don't have those photographs up, but you also found some 380 bullets. Do you recall that?
Without looking at the pictures, no, but I remember. I mean, I took pictures of multiple different calibers of ammunition.
Okay. And you also, and Mr. Fogus had showed you on direct examination the 32 caliber pistol.
Correct.
Right. And that pistol had the ammunition in it.
It had 6 rounds in it. Correct. Unfired.
Do you recall finding any specifically 32 caliber ammunition at the scene?
I don't recall.
Okay. Now, 38 special. Do you know what kind of bullet was supposedly used in this case?
I mean, I've learned after the fact of 38, but I mean, I just documenting possibly. I was just documenting what the bullets I found on scene.
At this point in time, when you're actually taking this photograph, you were just documenting it, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, did you find any 38 special handguns in the barn?
No.
Okay. So,
There were several guns in the barn, the rifles and
we'll get
on
to
the wall,
that
and
in just a
then
second.
the 32 caliber, but I don't remember a 38.
Okay, we'll get to that in just a second.
Okay.
So 25, that's just a photograph of a box of 38 special ammunition.
Yes.
So 25, 26 is showing a full.
Okay, now I just want to touch upon this really quickly. And I just want to say that this just goes to show that Scott Ferris had easy access to 38 special bullets. And that is what Gary Ferris was found to have been shot with. This ammunition was found in the barn. Scott Ferris lived directly above the barn. This was easy access for him. And again, Scott Ferris had so much to lose. There was an arrangement with him and his dad that him working on the farm, he would get paid. Eventually, when, his parents couldn't handle the farm anymore, he was going to take over. His father completely and totally funded his lifestyle. Whereas his brother Chris had some bills that he paid for, but Daddy paid for the most of it. And it seems like as it went with each child, farther down the line to the youngest, Daddy was less and less involved money-wise. Because Emily was mostly self-sufficient. I'm not entirely sure about Amanda. She was in college at the time. So I would believe that with Amanda being in college at the time, that mom and dad probably still did provide a little bit more for her. But this also goes to show that if Melody was already planning on having a sleepover with Addison and Cameron, that this just seems to be a little less likely that she would walk to the barn, load up a 38, that the only other person that knows that that gun is there is Scott Ferris. Scott Ferris's ex-wife, 6 years later, claims that she also saw the gun there, but it took her 6 years. And I'm just not buying it. I'm really just not buying it. And this is what I mean when I said earlier, where I don't feel that the prosecution's good job today really outweighs all of the other evidence that potentially could point to somebody other than Melody Ferris shooting Gary and murdering him. I don't know. I feel honestly like it is one of those situations where where it's clear who the murderer is not. And so I'm going to let us get back to day 2. We're going to listen to some more of the testimony. And please feel free to put in the chat how you see this. Do you think that Melody is guilty? Why? Do you think she's innocent? Why? I'm still just completely torn on this. I really feel like this could go either way. I feel it's 50-50. I'm starting to become like 51-49 or 52-48, something like that. But I feel that the defense has done an amazing job. And so I feel like they get a little bit higher of a chance. But with today's jail calls, I feel like that really hurt Melody's defense. Otherwise, I feel that the defense would have a much bigger lead if it wasn't for those jail calls. So I can't wait to hear everybody's comments, and back to day 2.
Full box of ammunition.
Correct.
27, just a close-up of 38 special.
Correct.
And 28 is just another photograph of 38 special box.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. So, you also went out to the main house and searched out there, correct? Or you assisted Detective Hayes?
I assisted Hayes and Carter in different times.
Okay.
I helped Hayes in various areas and Carter in various areas.
Now, out at the main house, did you find or photograph any bullets?
I don't remember, honestly.
But you do recall, well, is it fair to say that the only place you recall finding ammunitions and firearms in this case is in the barn?
Yes.
Okay. All right, now, you also documented, while out at the barn, other ammunition that was found. You recall that?
Yes, it looks like a drawer of a dresser.
Okay. And by looking at Stewart Defense 29, can you see what type of ammunition that is?
Yeah, looks like they're 38 special.
Okay. And that is, you got 3 38 specials in Stewart 29, 2 other ones in Stewart 30, is that correct?
Yes.
And then in Stewart 31, 2 other 38 specials?
Yes.
Or it could be the same 2. Do you recall how many bullets were found in the drawer?
I don't.
You had talked about, with Mr. Fogus, talked a little bit, like you've had some training in blood spatter analysis.
Yes.
The 90-degree drops. When you were in the house, did you notice any blood drops in the house?
And when I was walking around, I noticed some blood, but I didn't really pay attention to the 90-degree drops because I'd been tasked to focus on certain things when I was in the house. Help me with this, help me with this, help me with this.
Okay. Is it fair to say that, and I'm just speaking generally, okay?
Okay.
So if blood falls straight down, I think you testified on direct that you will get just a circle.
Now you might get some splash depending on how high it comes from, but typically a blood droplet when it comes off of an object is round due to the viscosity of the blood. So when it hits, it'll be round. Now you're going to get obviously splash off of it, but the initial drop is round. Yes.
Okay. You get some round with some splash.
Potentially, yes.
Now, what if the source of the blood is in motion? You would get then like a splash that goes with the motion.
You can technically. So like, you tell directionality of blood drops by tails. So if you look at any kind of blood spatter, it'll be if it's, let's say I had it on my fingers and I slung it. The blood drop as it hit the wall would be elongated. Imagine skipping a stone, right? So the blood drop would be elongated when it hit, and then it would some more of it would come off and basically make a tail. So it would look like imagine a tadpole on the wall. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or on the floor or whatever.
And the tail would be behind.
The tail would be the direction that it's going.
The tail is the direction it's going.
Right. So imagine because I think it's force. So when I do this, if it was on my fingers, it's going to hit and impact, and it's going to basically point the direction that it's going.
Okay. And would that?
Now, I really like the way that he explains the blood splatter. It really makes it easy to understand. It is also very easy to visualize. I don't know about you guys, but I am a very visual thinker. And I very much need things that I can relate to in the everyday world to be able to visualize. So, like being able to visualize a tadpole, and being able to visualize how the blood splatter is going to look if you were to like sling something, or how it would look, if it dropped at a 90-degree angle. He does, if I remember correctly, also go into like what blood smears would look like and things like that. But I also find it very interesting that from here on out, you are going to hear time and time again from various different detectives, investigators, law enforcement, crime scene analysts, and things like that. You are going to hear how they were tasked with very specific tasks, and they don't know anything outside of that one task that they were given. So like one officer you're going to hear talk about how they were tasked with Chris. And you're going to hear about all the things that they did not do as far as testing to rule out Chris. And when the defense starts asking, like, well, why didn't you do this? And why didn't you do that? You're going to hear, well, I was tasked with very specific things. And so as soon as I completed those tasks, I then reported back to my sergeant or whoever he reported back to, and I was given more very specific things to do. And it's very interesting. I've never quite seen an investigation run exactly like this. And I have been following true crime cases since I was really little. Like, I remember the O.J. Simpson trial. I remember the televised Richard Ramirez trial. I remember Dahmer, the Unabomber, BTK. Like, I've been at this a while, guys. Um, And I don't know. I've just never seen an investigation quite like this, where they are tasked with such specific tasks that they can't do any follow-up tasks that would be related to the task that they are given. Um, like they get certain information off of Chris's phone, but they don't get all of the information off of Chris's phone. I think it was just like phone calls or pictures or something. It was something weird. And then when the defense asked if they did a full data dump, they were like, no, I wasn't tasked with that. Or something similar to that. And it blows my mind because to me, like if you're tasked with getting one thing off the phone, why wouldn't you be tasked with getting everything off the phone? Um, and so there's a lot of those instances in this as well. Um, and so just listen closely to what he has to say because this is where the testimony really starts to get interesting. And you really start to sit here and you're like, wow, they really missed a lot of opportunities. So back to day two.
That be the same if the person was walking or running?
I mean, it depends, but could.
It could be. Okay.
Yes.
So you, like, theoretically, you should be able to, or you can, like if you had a blood trail, tell the direction of the blood trail. That is a possibility.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Fogus had also, there was a lot of photographs of the, I'm not going to pull them back up, of the tack room. There was a lot of ropes and chains and things like that you testified that you saw?
Yes.
With that, did you take, or if you know, did any of the other investigators take any of those things into evidence?
I mean, not that I know of.
Did you find any ropes or chains inside the main house separate from the barn?
I don't recall seeing any, no.
Okay. So it's fair to say that the only place you found any ropes or chains would have been in the barn?
Correct.
Okay. 1 second, because it was real far down. Mr. Fogus to talk to you about States 125. I just want to ask you, because you found States 125, which is the Partney Equity Form.
Correct. It came out of the. That's one of the things that came out of the garbage can downstairs.
Okay. Anywhere on that list do you see Gary Ferris's name or the name Ferris?
If you'll give me just a second, let me review it.
Yep.
Did you or a loved one use Depo-Provera and later develop a brain tumor or a meningioma? New research suggests an increase.
No.
Okay. You don't see Gary's name? Okay.
No, but it's in alphabetical order, so there would be no way that there's an F on there for Ferris. If you look, it's all in alphabetical order.
Correct. And so, but you would have taken everything that was in that trash can and laid it down and took photographs, correct?
Correct.
And that wasn't in there?
Correct.
Okay. Also, State 126, this is the tax bill you testified about?
Yeah, it's a tax statement, yes.
All right, and you'll see that tax bill is in the name of Gary and Melody.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Now, you spent a good portion of July the 6th helping Detective Hayes look for the alleged firearm, correct?
We looked in several locations in the house, the closet, the study, various locations.
Okay. Didn't find anything inside the house?
As far as a firearm?
Yeah.
We didn't find a firearm, no.
Okay. Yeah, so no firearms in the house. You also searched the compost pile for firearms?
Yeah, so we took I think that was actually on the first day because the compost pile was directly in front of the tractor. So one of the investigators on scene, Corporal Olenek, he grabbed the metal detector and to kind of metal detect that area around where the compost pile was. And myself and Investigator Duncan took shovels and also moved stuff around, through the compost pile and in various areas around the compost pile while he was using the metal detector in search of any sort of evidence, firearm, you name it.
Okay. You had also talked about, with the trash can, that you had taken swabs of the trash can.
Correct.
All right. Do you recall whether those were packaged up and placed into evidence?
They were.
Were they sent off to the crime lab to be tested to the best of your knowledge?
I would assume so, but I don't want to say for certain under oath.
Okay. Yeah, if you don't know, you don't know.
So.
There was also the Detective Hayes had called you to photograph some shoes and a shirt that he found.
Correct.
Correct. Now, do you know, or did you see Detective Hayes find the shirt?
I don't recall if I was in the room when he found the shirt or not.
Okay. So you don't know where the shirt was located in the house?
I believe the shirt was in a closet, but I'm not 100% sure. No.
Okay. So, like, if I asked, was it hanging up? Was it in the dirty clothes? Was it on the floor? You don't know?
That I don't know, no.
Okay. And you photographed that shirt, correct?
Correct.
All right. And also you photographed two sets of shoes.
Correct.
There was one set of shoes. You didn't actually do the swabbing for the preliminary blood test, correct?
Correct.
All right. That was another investigator?
Yeah, but I don't remember which one it was, honestly.
Okay. And did you take those items into your possession, or did Detective Hayes take those items?
I did not take those items into my possession to be processed as evidence, so I would assume it would have been one of the detectives.
Okay. So you were strictly photographing them?
Correct.
Okay. Give me just 1 second.
Yes, sir.
This is Station Exhibit Riley 1. It's a calendar there. You were there, so July 2018. July 3rd, 4th, and 5th. You went there July 5th, is that right?
5th and 6th, yes.
All right. Do you know anything about what occurred in the evening of July 3rd?
I do not.
Do you have any idea, or were you involved in the time of death when Gary was shot and killed?
No.
How about on July 4th? Were you there at all?
No, I believe the initial 911 call came out on the 5th, which is for what we're here in court for. So I went out there that night, but I didn't go out there before then.
All right, so July 3rd, July 4th, those 2 days, didn't know what was going on at the property or anything, right?
No clue, sir.
Did you find the gun that was used in this case?
No.
So it was missing?
Yes.
But you found bullets and things like that in the barn?
Yes.
But there were several days that passed, but no gun was found?
Correct.
And you were asked about things that you found in the barn. Do you know, was there any towels that were wet or in dryers or washer or dryer or anything in the barn?
I don't remember, honestly.
Was there any clothing that looked like had suit or anything like that in the barn?
In the barn? No.
Any shoes that were wet or other shoes that had possibly blood on them?
In the barn? No.
Sure.
No, not in the barn.
Nothing like that in the barn?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to state the obvious here. Just because those items are not in the barn at that time does not mean that Scott Ferris could not have done this. I don't really see how that really fails to cast doubt on Scott Ferris and puts more doubt on Melody Ferris. I really just feel like this prosecutor is grasping at straws. I feel like he is doing just anything possible to get somebody, even one person, to sit here and be like, you know what? Yeah, that makes sense. But it doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't make sense to me. To me, the logical step is just because there's no clothes that are wet or ashy, and there's no shoes that are wet or ashy in the barn, does not eliminate Scott as a suspect. There, I am sure, is laundry places elsewhere. He could have taken it to a laundromat. He could have stashed it in a car or somewhere for a couple of days and then taken it to the laundromat. He could have washed it in his mom's washing machine and dryer at the main house. I feel like they're missing a lot of potential angles with this. And maybe I'm just overthinking it. Maybe it's not that complicated. Sorry, I didn't want to cough in everybody's ear. I have a dry spot in my throat. But yeah, maybe I'm just that weird person who just overthinks this. But I really feel that they're missing some crucial questions in this investigation. And maybe I'm the only weirdo that would think like this. And I also know that I have the privilege of using hindsight instead of foresight. When they're in the moment, they don't know how this is going to turn out. I don't really know how this is going to turn out entirely. I just know how it's panned out so far for day 11. And so with me having that hindsight of being able to see how it's going to play out up until now, I know that that gives me a very unfair advantage to the prosecution. Um, but I still feel like these are some very valid questions, and I feel that they're very important questions. What do you guys think? Come on, I want to hear these comments. I can't wait to hear these comments. I'm so excited for the people who finally start to like really find my videos and start to comment their opinions. I really can't wait. I'm so excited for that. Um, I know I'm still just a very small content creator, but let me just say, I really appreciate everybody who hops on here, even if it's just for a second. I really appreciate everybody who um, likes one of my videos or comments or anything like that. I appreciate the support in any way possible. I even appreciate when you follow me on Facebook or send me emails. It really means a lot to me. And I enjoy the engagement. I enjoy the feedback from everybody. So I really appreciate everybody's time. Thank you so much for being here with me. I know I haven't thanked you guys a lot in the past. I tend to get very nervous, which is why I don't have my camera on. Um, I tend to be very overwhelmed with having to see myself on screen. And I also am very self-conscious about um, my voice. And I know it's so silly to be that way, but I am. Um, and so I just appreciate everybody who sticks around, who watches my videos, who comments, who likes. And I really appreciate all of the support, guys. It really means a lot to me. Um, and we're going to get back to the prosecution's recross of this witness, or redirect, sorry, of this witness. It's really interesting. Um, and I really don't feel like the prosecution came out with their strongest game during this phase of the trial. They have slightly gotten better, but it hasn't been by much. Today was their best day, in my opinion, so far in court. Um, so I can't wait until I hear what everybody has to say. I'm going to shut up now and I'm going to hop on to the video again.
Ms. Ferguson, that's a good question. Did you find any blood to the naked eye or anything like that in the barn? Any indication that there was blood there?
No, sir.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Yes. And Stewart, look at that. Can you tell us what that is?
It looks like it's in a dresser drawer or a nightstand drawer. It's a photograph of the items that are in it.
Okay. And is that a fair and accurate depiction?
I would say so, yes.
Okay. We can move to Tender Stewart, defense 31.
No, Judge.
And Judge, I'll test out our taping. Sorry, kind of scan this one if you hit it for me. Oh, right here.
No, the camera should be.
Good. Hey, look, it worked. Lieutenant Stewart, do you recall if the drawer we were talking about earlier in the barn apartment, is that a photograph of it?
I don't remember, but I mean, it could be.
Okay.
Yeah,
GoDaddy Arrow is so easy. AI built me a website in minutes.
Okay. And well, you can see right here, because we were talking about bullets earlier in Stewart 30 and 32, or I'm sorry, 29, 30, and 31.
Yes, sir.
You can see I'm pointing to them right now, kind of in the center of the photograph. Those are the bullets you were taking photographs of?
I mean, I would guess so, yes.
Okay.
If it's the same drawer, then yes.
Okay. And also, on the barn upstairs, because we had talked a lot, or a little bit about, the animal feces in the barn.
Yes.
Oh, what do I do? Just turn it off, Judge? Just leave it? Oh, okay. And so I mean, it's fair to say that the upstairs barn was fairly dirty, right?
And it was lived in, yes.
Yeah, okay. But if we look at number 17, you would agree with me that is quite the clean sink, right?
I mean, it's cleanish, yes. But there's, if you look at the corners, there's stuff all in the corners of the sink.
Okay. What about the bathtub, though? Stewart Defense 30.
Looks like a bathtub.
Okay. Clean, though, right?
Cleanish, yeah.
And he's got up here on the top, looks like a magic eraser.
That's what it looks like to me.
And then in 29, still clean, right?
Yes.
Okay. And not that it was your responsibility, but to the best of your knowledge, there was no luminol or any DNA or anything taken from the back.
Not that I know of, sir, no.
Okay. And if I can approach you, get those photographs from you.
These ones also.
No other questions. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Yes, sir.
Anything, Mr. Fergus?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, you sit down. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, call your next witness.
It's Charles Westbrook.
Stand up and stretch while we're bringing next witness in.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear affirm that evidence you about to present in this matter shall be the truth, and the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right. Have a seat. I'm going to go ahead and open that microphone. If you would state your full name for the record.
It's Charles Roger Westbrook.
Where do you work and what do you do?
The Cherokee Sheriff's Office. I'm a sergeant, and I work in the Behavioral Health Unit Crisis Response Team.
Or you work where again? I'm sorry. Speak a little bit louder if you would, please.
I'm working in the Behavioral Health Unit Crisis Response Team. It's a co-responder unit.
What is that? Tell me what that is.
So we have a mental health professional and myself. We respond to mental health crises, suicides, people in distress, people experiencing psychosis, and then we do follow-ups and try to get people connected into treatment to reduce the number of folks that go to jail or end up in the hospitals if we can.
Okay, kind of like community policing aspect or something you do. How long have you been doing that?
For a little over a year now.
What type of training do you have to do that?
I have a bachelor's in psychology, a master's in counseling, and I'm also licensed as a professional counselor. Worked for about 15 years in the mental health field before I became a law enforcement officer.
Does our sheriff emphasize more than just catch them, lock them up? Does he try to do things like this?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been doing that?
We started crisis intervention team training probably 2004 or 5, training officers in behavioral health issues and how to do crisis intervention.
Does the sheriff put an emphasis on compassion or community policing in this way?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Now, when were you post-certified?
Started in the sheriff's office in 1999. Did the academy, I think I graduated in probably May of 2000.
Where'd you go?
To North Central.
Where's that at?
It was down in Kennesaw. It's in Austell now.
And after you got out of the academy, what'd you start doing did you go here or somewhere else?
Here. So I worked in the jail for a little bit, did court staff security, then I went to uniform patrol, and then CID.
That seems to be common starting out in the jail. A lot of officers do that.
Yes, sir.
Is that mandatory or something they just do?
For most cases, it is. There are some lateral people hired in laterally that are already in patrol or CID. They can hire in directly into those units here. But generally speaking, most people go through the working in the jail.
And at some point, what's your rank, sir?
I'm a sergeant.
Okay. No, we just had Lieutenant Stewart, and I forgot to ask him his rank, but obviously he's a lieutenant, but ask him about the rank structure. Sheriff's Office. Sergeant, is that supervisory capacity?
Yes, sir.
And how many, are we fully staffed at the Sheriff's Office right now, or are we down because of everything?
I think we're down still. I don't know the exact numbers, but we're still doing hiring and promoting the positions.
Now, I want to turn your attention back to July 5th, 2018. Obviously, you know why you're here today?
Yes, sir.
And did you get called out to 2511 Purcell Lane, the Ferris' residence?
Yes, sir, I did.
And when you went out there, tell the jury just what your aspect was and what your duties or what you did that day.
Okay. So I was in the Criminal Investigation Division, and I was a supervisor on the evening shift, crimes against persons. We responded to and assigned cases mostly for family violence. And that particular day, we came in on the shift, and were told that there was a missing person / death investigation going on at Purcell Lane, and we were asked to come out there and assist.
Now, July 5th was that Thursday. Do you remember about what time you got out there that afternoon?
Probably late in the afternoon. I don't remember exactly, but I'd say somewhere between 3 and 4 o'clock, somewhere in that area.
911 calls around 12:45 or so you got it after that?
Yes, sir.
When you got there, were you assigned did you go and actually do anything right off the bat, or what were you doing?
We were standing by at first, waiting for some direction. Crime scene was there doing some stuff. And then we were tasked with different duties. I assisted in the area where the burning pit was, where trash had been burned and where the body had been discovered.
Now, the parties are not arguing over that. Was Gary Ferris was found in the burn pile. So when you got there, from what you knew when you arrived, was this you were there responding to medical emergency, or you were there responding to something more? When you responded to the scene, did you know, hey, this is a criminal investigation? Or
Right.
This was
Right. It was a criminal investigation. First responders had already been out there, secured the scene, and the day shift crimes against personnel were out there, start leading the investigation. So we were called out to assist.
Did you go out to the burn pit?
Yes, sir.
Did you see it?
Yes, sir.
Did you see the remains?
Yes, sir.
Did you see anything at some point that catch y'all's attention?
Yes, sir. When everything had been kind of sectioned off and pieces of the remains were being placed on a table, and there was a section that was identified as a part of the chest cavity, and I saw something that was inconsistent with the rest of the burned and charred material. Looked almost like a pencil eraser in there, and pointed it out to forensics, and it was identified as a projectile from a bullet, from a cartridge.
Dr. Gooding, was she processing the scene?
Yes, sir. She was there.
Did she put into a grid system?
Yes.
Did you help with any of the systematic search or sifting of the remains?
Okay, so Dr. Gooding is who I had been talking about earlier, that was like the assistant medical examiner, the assistant coroner, or whatever. Now, this grid system that he's talking about, I have to give Dr. Goody her props on that, because I have watched far enough into the trial to see this grid system, and even the defense stops and is like, by the way, I really like your grid. It is amazing. It really shows you like where everything is found um in this. So I am so impressed. Um it shows you where the body was laying. It shows you where the highest concentration of like bones and stuff were found. For not having a significant amount of graphical detail, it has a lot of detail. It is kind of like a spectrum. Um, like one of those spectrum grids where like say you take a personality test and it tells you like how introverted you are and how optimistic you are and how pessimistic you are and blah 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 blah. And it'll be in like that weird geometrical shape that kind of connects all the dots, and like some areas are bigger than the others. That's what it's like. Um, and it's just, I love it. I love it. It is a work of art, and I am fascinated by this grid. It is just perfection. And I know that is just me ultimately being super autistic, but I am very impressed with this graph and I very much like it. It gives a lot of detail without being overwhelming. All right, I'm done bragging about the grid. I just had to stop and give Dr. Goody her props in case she ever sees this. She can pat herself on the back for this grid. Yes.
I helped set up some of the grid off system and removing some of the other brush that was not part of the fire.
Do you work with other detectives? Is it detectives or investigators? I think we say detectives.
At that time we had different rank structure: investigator, detective, sergeant.
Now that's going to make it really confusing for me.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to refer to them as detectives.
Okay.
Were there other detectives there?
Yes, sir.
Kuykendall, one of them?
Yes, sir, he was.
Did you end up going and looking in the house, the main house?
Yes, sir. I went in with him, starting some of the preliminary searches.
You able to go into the washroom area and find anything in the washing machine?
Yes, sir. There's a mud room and a laundry room that's off of the garage that goes into the main part of the house. There's a washer and a dryer there, and in the washing machine there were some wet towels.
Did you go into the garage and see any vehicles in the garage?
Yes, sir. There were two vehicles, a Toyota Sequoia and a Mercedes.
And did you know that the Sequoia was one of the defendant, Melody Ferris, was driving?
It was identified as hers, yes, sir.
And did you see Melody Ferris there at the scene?
Maybe from a distance. I think she was talking to some of the other detectives earlier in the day.
Talk to Hayes and other people.
All right. Now, don't quote me on this, but I am pretty sure that it is this witness that the defense completely and utterly tears apart as far as why didn't this get tested? Why didn't that get tested? What did this come back as? What did that come back as? Why was there only presumptive testing done? I'm pretty sure that this is that person. And in a way, I kind of feel bad for this witness, because I feel that he really, in some ways, ended up with the crap end of the stick, because they were hard on him on the defense. But I also feel that it was needed to prove their point. Um, so yes, as bad as I feel for this witness, I feel that the defense doing what they did was very, very important. Um, I apologize. The dogs are getting into trouble over here. And it was the little bratty one that started it. I'm going to take Loki out. I am watching the stream on my phone, so I will comment on anything that I feel needs to be commented on after I take the dogs out. And I'm going to stay muted, and I'm going to let this play for just a couple more minutes while I do that. And like I said, I'll comment when I come back.
Yes, sir.
You weren't really interviewing people or anything like that?
Not at that time, no, sir.
But when you looked in the Sequoia, the defense Sequoia, did you find some receipts and things like that?
Yes, sir, I did.
And then were pictures taken and turned over, or other officers grabbed those things?
Yes, sir. Crime scene had already been through the house taking pictures, and then we went back through and started identifying and collecting evidence.
Transform your newsletter into its very own mobile app and allow your readers to install it directly on their home screen. Your custom branded mobile app equipped.
Now, you went on July 6th, I think was Friday. You go back to the scene?
Yes, sir. I think it was the 6th when we actually collected those items.
Okay. And on July 6th, you also collected the victim's wallet. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to mark this for identification as Westbrook 1. I'll hand it to you. I know you've looked at it and gone through that. See if you recognize that to be the wallet that you found inside Ferris's residence.
Yes, sir, it is.
Now, where did you, based on the ECR, where did you find in your report, where was it found?
The kitchen counter.
And that was on, that was on the ECR, is where that was written?
Yes, sir.
Was there other stuff that you remember on the counter?
There was, I believe there was a purse, and there was a credit card that was identified to me to put into evidence as well.
Do me a favor, take Westbrook 1, look through it, make sure that's the wallet, and has those credit cards and stuff that you found.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is.
To the best of your memory recollection, is that the wallet that you recovered from the scene?
Yes, sir, it is.
Pretty much in the same condition as it was for the most part?
Yes, sir.
This time I tendered it as Westbrook 1.
Okay. Nice, good.
What I'm going to do, if I can do this right, technology and I are not good friends. Judge, I'm going to try to use this envelope thing. All right. All right, what I'm doing, I'm going to make a record, so I'm going to talk as I do this. I have Westbrook Run 1, which is Gary's wallet, in my hands. Is that right, sir?
Yes, sir.
And do you see me taking out all the cards and things inside?
Yes, sir.
And I'm putting that down. Then the rest of the wallet is pretty much empty, it looks like.
Yes, sir.
As I'm putting on the L mode, Westbrook 1, which is the one that has a light bulb image right there.
There we go. And if you zoom in, then it will.
Listen, I'm a lawyer. Let's not put it past me now.
If you do the dial on top, it'll zoom in, and then it'll autofocus when it does that.
All right. And this appears to be a black leather wallet. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so that's the wallet. And then what I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Judge, is this a system where you can take a picture or snapshot?
You can take a picture.
Judge, do you mind assisting me, because I do not know how to do
There's
that.
a button for it. I don't know. Yeah, if y'all let me know what you're doing before you do it, then we can. I don't think there's an SD card on it, but it may have internal memory. Yeah, you can take a picture with your phone and then we can do it. But I know there's a picture option. We haven't used that in 4 years.
I should have thought this through. There you go, somehow.
It did a little, look like a little snap there.
It did.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do with the court's permission, I'll just take a picture of this and supplement to the record. Mr. Ray, Mr. Weaver, y'all good with that?
Absolutely.
So y'all good with me just taking pictures and supplement?
Print it out.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more.
Yeah, okay, so it is trying to take a picture, but there is no SD card because we haven't, like I said, used it in 4 years. So take a picture with your phone and we can get one in there for next time. You have to hit the center button to get to the next.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the menu system for that is particularly terrible.
Take one more picture here. You would not, sir, would you remove any cards and discard anything that was found in the wallet?
No, sir.
Is your procedure, when you find some evidence, to keep it in the same or substantial similar condition as when you found it?
Yes, sir, it is.
So you would not add anything to it?
No, sir.
You would not take anything away?
No, sir.
You would not tamper or otherwise mess or do anything else to the evidence?
No, sir.
Best of your knowledge, that's how his wallet was when it was found.
Yes, sir.
You know, do you have any idea where it was found in the house or where it was before it was on the counter?
No, sir, I don't.
And did you have to go back and look at the property receipts to remind yourself where you have obtained it from?
Yes, sir.
But you don't know how he got from wherever to there.
No, sir, I don't.
No other credit cards or debit cards. What it is, what it is. What's in there is what was in there.
Yes, sir. It's listed on the evidence control record.
July 11th, did you go with Kuykendall to Burr & Foreman, the law firm Gary worked for?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did you talk to, I think, Angela Phillips there?
Yes, sir.
And then you said you found the towels and whatnot in the washer, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And did you have those turned over to the crime scene unit that collected those towels?
Yes, sir.
Judge, if I just have one moment. Just maybe we'll redirect nothing to sign.
All right.
Trey?
Is it Lieutenant Westbrook now?
No, sir. It's Sergeant.
Westbrook?
Yes, sir.
Michael Ray, I represent Ms. Ferris. Going to the wallet real quick. You said you found it. Did you find it on the 5th or the 6th?
The 6th.
But you were out there on the 5th too, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, the house was searched on the 5th too, right?
There was some searching, I believe, on the 5th. It's kind of hard for me to remember. It's a little bit fuzzy, but it seems like we did go into the house on the 5th, and we're looking in some parts and then went back on the 6th.
Okay. Now, also, with the wallet, according to your testimony to Mr. Fogus, that was everything that was found in the wallet.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so is it your testimony that there was no cash found in that wallet?
I don't recall any cash, and I don't think there's anything on the ECR as far as cash, but
Okay. If there was cash in the wallet, would it be held in evidence or deposited into the sheriff's escrow account?
I think normally it would just be kept in evidence because it's part of the crime scene. So as far as I know.
Okay, so as far as you know, if there was cash in that wallet, it would be in the wallet now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you did a couple of things other than the wallet that was found. So, and let me just also back up real quick. So just to clarify, that wallet was found by you on the counter in the kitchen of the main house on July the 6th, 2018?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you don't know how it got on the counter?
No, sir.
You don't know where the wallet originally was?
No, sir.
Okay. You also had searched Ms. Ferris's Toyota, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to approach with some photographs for you to look at real quick.
Just I stipulated it.
And he stipulated that they're authentic, so I'm just going to go ahead and move to admit Westbrook D 1 through 4.
Objection?
No, Judge.
They're admitted.
And Sergeant, you just keep those with you. Now, what day did you search the Toyota?
I believe it was the 6th.
Okay. You can look at. Judge, can you switch me here? You can look at Westbrook Defense 1. That is a front gate receipt for Lake Lanier Islands, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that the date on that is July 4th at 1:54 p.m., correct?
Yes, sir.
And it looks like it's a receipt for parking at Lake Lanier.
It says front gate, so
Okay, what?
access. I imagine it would be access to the.
In the middle of the receipt, you can see it says 15.
Oh, okay, yeah.
1-1 park.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is one day before July the 5th, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, also, with that, you had, because you had written some reports in this case, right?
Yes, sir.
On Westbrook Defense 2, that is also a photograph of the Lake Lanier parking receipt, as well as a receipt of something, a customer copy of something, correct?
Yes, or something Farms and Company, Birmingham Highway.
Okay. You can you see, well, you've actually got it, but you can, I'll zoom in a little bit here. Yeah, you can see it looks like Scottsdale Farms.
Yes, sir.
Okay. July the 2nd, 2018, do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Looks like At least this receipt is for $118.51.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Westbrook Defense 3. That is a copy of a bank receipt.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Wells Fargo bank receipt. To be specific. Is that correct? Wells Fargo?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And let me pull up for us a little better photograph. Okay, that's a checking, looks like an ATM receipt, right?
Yes, sir.
Where looks like money had been withdrawn, approximately $100.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you can also see from that receipt that the available balance, at least in that main, what it actually says main account, is $11,046.85.
Yes, sir.
Now, do you recall your report? Do you have a copy of it?
I don't have it in front of me.
Well,
No,
let
sir.
me ask you first, then you may not need it. In your report, you had listed out things that you had identified, and you had listed out the Lake Lanier Island receipt, AJS pit stop, a MAPCO receipt, and a Fuel City, I'm assuming, receipt. But you didn't list this. Do you recall that?
I don't recall seeing that. No, sir.
Okay. If it wasn't listed in your report, why do you think you'd leave that?
I don't know, sir.
And just to be clear, too, when did you search the car on the 6th?
I believe that's what the ECR says. Yes, sir. The 6th.
And did you actually take the physical copies of these receipts into evidence?
I honestly don't recall.
Okay. But you did take the photographs?
No, sir. I didn't take the photographs.
You didn't take but you were there when it was searched?
I was there when it was searched. Yes, sir.
Okay. But that's what your report says, is that you searched the car?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You also did one other thing. You interviewed a woman named Angela Phillips. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that was Gary Phillips' former secretary?
Administrative assistant. Yes, sir.
Okay. And I believe it was you and Detective Kuykendall
Yes, sir.
interviewed her. And y'all did that interview down at Burr and Foreman offices?
Yes, sir.
And that interview was, I think it was audio and video recorded, correct?
I believe it was audio, but not video. No,
Okay.
sir.
Do you recall whether or not, did you interview Ms. Phillips any more or only that one time?
I don't recall talking to her again. I remember interviewing there during that session, but I don't recall talking to her again.
Okay. And you had, because I believe you interviewed her around the 11th, right?
Yes, sir.
With Kuykendall.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And her demeanor when you told her what had happened is that she was extremely upset, correct?
That's what I documented.
Okay.
I don't really recall a whole lot about.
We need a small business loan fast.
I got this. Lone Falcon!
I don't recall a whole lot of. I don't recall a whole lot about the interview as far as her demeanor and stuff, but I do remember documenting it and just using some of that information.
Okay, and because Detective Kuykendall was actually kind of lead on that, right?
I was doing a forensic victimology
Yes.
of Mr. Ferris, and Kuykendall accompanied me to do that.
Okay. All right. Just one second. Actually, let me approach and get those photographs real quick from you. One thing, during the interview that you had with Ms. Phillips, do you recall her establishing that she had had an ongoing affair with Gary Ferris?
During that interview?
Yes.
No, sir.
Not during that interview?
Not during that interview, no, sir.
Okay. since you had searched the Toyota, what we'll call Melody's car, did you not also search Gary's car, the Mercedes?
I don't recall. Honestly, I know they were there. I listed the cars in the report.
So here's a big question for me. How in the world can you sit here and test Melody's car, but you're not going to test Gary's? Isn't it possible that his car was also, like, was used in this crime? Like, what the hell? Because he's the victim, his car no longer becomes potential evidence? Like, I don't understand this. And why was no DNA taken from the back of Melody's car? There's a lot of questions with this that just have a lot of I don't know answers, and I don't really particularly like that. I'm not a fan of coincidences. I don't believe in them. I don't believe that coincidences are really a thing. I feel that coincidences are something that um are like a man-made thing. I feel like you can kind of follow the steps leading up to a coincidence that would, in hindsight, make you realize um, that it really was just a consequence of actions that you had made or that somebody else had made. Um, so yeah, I don't really believe in coincidences. Loki, no, thank you. Um, so yeah, we're gonna get back to the testimony, but I just really wanted to point that out that I thought it was weird that they tested Melody's car but not Gary's, and that they really didn't do anything outside of presumptive testing on Melody's car as far as DNA went. Um, he's gonna talk a little bit more about things that they didn't do. Let me know what you guys think on this. I really find it interesting the amount of things that were left unattended and unlooked after. I know that's not the right wording, but that's the best wording I can come up with. So here we go back to day two and the testimony that just does not bode well for the prosecution.
But I don't have a memory of that.
Okay. You don't recall, because we have no photographs of Gary's car. Do you recall you or anybody else taking any photograph of Gary's Mercedes?
Not in my presence that I recall, no, sir.
Okay. No further questions, Judge.
That's right. Can I see your photographs of them?
Yeah. I'll put them up there.
These are the defense. I think this is Westbrook D4 that you're looking at on the screen. You see that?
Yes, sir.
Read into the record for me the customer card number. Don't worry about all the X's, just the numbers after that.
The last four digits are 0078.
You have any idea whose card that is or where it came from?
Not off the top of my head, sir. No, sir.
Any idea where that card was found during the investigation?
Not that I know of. It may have been one of the ones in the wallet. I don't know. I have to look at my notes to see.
Look at Westbrook. What's this one here? Isn't it? But I'm looking for one in particular. And this is, there it is, Westbrook D2. Can you make out on this one the last 4 digits on this receipt?
0078.
For the record, I'm going to mark the photographs of the wallet and the cards as Westbrook 2 and Westbrook 3, intimidation evidence.
Okay.
And we'll mark those when I get some exhibit stickers.
Already got those down here?
Yes, Judge.
Wow, that's impressive.
I believe that's all I have for you, sir. Thank you.
I just have a couple. Sir, I wanted to, because you had stated on cross that you were doing a victimology.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that victimology was about Gary. Okay. And because I've got kind of your report on that, it's just really just a couple paragraphs, right?
The report, yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. So you went as part of that to talk to Angela Phillips.
Yes, sir.
Gary's secretary for 30
Administrative assistant, yes, sir.
Okay. How did you know to go talk to her? Who did you learn that information from?
I don't recall off the top of my head. I know that Sergeant Hands asked me to do the victimology report.
Okay.
And then somewhere in our discussions, it may have been with him and Kuykendall to go down there and to interview her, but I don't remember who said that to me.
Okay. So you don't recall where you learned it, but eventually somehow you learned it and you went to go talk to her?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And were you also aware that Angela Phillips had moved here in 1995 along with Gary?
Yes, sir.
And Melody and the children?
Yes, sir.
Did you not think in that interview, or did you ask her about whether or not her and Gary had ever had an affair before when you interviewed her?
I don't remember asking the specific question. I do remember writing in my report that there was no indication at that time that there had been an affair.
You can say that last part again?
There was no indication at that time that there had been an affair between Gary Ferris and Angela Phillips.
Okay. Were you at the interview where Ms. Phillips admitted that there had been some type of affair later on?
No, sir, I wasn't in that interview. I was informed that, I think, by Detective Hayes.
Okay. But you weren't informed of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Did you ever think for one moment that Angela had anything to do with the killing?
No, sir.
Did you know whether or not that affair was at that time or way in the past?
When I was informed about it later on, I was told that she had said that they had decided at that time that it was inappropriate and they'd cut it off.
Was that at the time or in the past?
In the past.
Okay. But nothing makes you think she's a suspect in this, has anything to do with this, has any motive related to her whatsoever, right?
No, sir.
All right, you sit down. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sure you guys are starting to get tired of me, but I find it really interesting that the prosecution doesn't lay out when exactly in the past this affair ended, just that it was in the past. Was it 2 days in the past? Was it 2 years in the past? Was it, whatever? And they don't establish a timeline on that really. Um, And I find it funny that he never followed up on that. Um, I feel like it's important for the victimology to have accurate information because I feel if you don't have a full picture of the victim, then how are you going to know who is the most likely to have murdered that victim or um you know whatever. I really feel that they're missing a lot of very obvious opportunities to expound on who exactly could have done this outside of just Melody. I feel like they have missed a lot of key evidence, a lot of key questions. Um, and again, I totally understand that I am looking at this from an outsider's perspective, from somebody who has the hindsight to see what the trial has looked like for the last 11 days, um, and all of that. So, you know, I'm keeping an open mind. Maybe the trial is going better than I'm anticipating, but um, I really just feel like they missed a lot of opportunities and like they really dropped the ball in some significant places. And I feel like that contributes to the lack of evidence, the lack of compelling evidence. Let me put it that way. Um, so yes, we are going to go on to the next witness. I believe it will be coming up on like a recess soon, and so I'll just skip through that.
Probably a good time for us to break for lunch. All right. Did I talk to y'all about lunch this morning yet? Go ahead and bring him in. You can try to see if you can angle it so that angle it so it doesn't go in your eyes, and then see if that's better. But you can turn it off. I don't mind you turning it off. Just when we installed that, 10 years ago, we had to turn off that light because it cast a shadow on the document camera, and then maintenance came through one day and was like, that bulb's out. We're going to replace it. And they walked up and tightened it back up. And I'm like, yeah, y'all got to get back on a ladder and unscrew that. There's also, this one went to the other one, which I don't know if it'll work with it or not, but this one has a coin remote and it hasn't been used in forever. Coin battery. We have a portable one somewhere, but I also think all of our stuff got surplus. When y'all came back, or were they just empty and y'all got them back? Y'all walked to lunch. Well, that was brilliant. That was the smarter. So y'all went over to Panera and got if you go to Panera, go get your unlimited drink cup. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Court. State House Melody Thrasher. Mr. Thrasher, raise your right hand. You solemnly swear affirm the evidence you about to present in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
I do.
Go ahead and have a seat. State your name for the record.
Melody Thrasher.
Spell it for us if you would, please.
MELANITHRASHER.
What is your title at the Sheriff's Office?
Currently, I'm a crime scene technician.
And how long have you been doing that type of work?
I was certified in 2018, and then I went, and it was extra duty. I was also the evidence supervisor, and then in 2022, I went full-time crime scene.
All right, tell the jury if you would, kind of just give a little bit more information about how. Are you a post-certified officer?
No, I'm not.
So, kind of, did you come in from the civilian side and start working?
Yes, I did.
Just kind of give them the story of how you got into it, and then how your job progressed, and what you actually did.
And this is a second career for me. In 2012, I joined the Sheriff's Office. I had pursued more education, and I received a paralegal certificate. At that time, I looked for a job and found the one at the Sheriff's Office. And I worked in evidence, like I said, from 2012 till 2022. In that time, around 2016, I became the supervisor. And then I got interested in crime scene through all the investigators coming into our office. So I pursued that, got the recommended required training to become a certified crime scene technician.
What did you do before you came into law enforcement?
My bachelor's is in horticulture.
Okay.
So my last job prior to the Sheriff's Office is I was the full-time gardener for someone who owned a 110-acre estate.
What did you do and things like that at that place?
I was responsible for most of the grounds. I did everything from mow grass, plant trees, cut down trees. I drove a tractor, Kubota tractor. I have also a side-by-side, a chipper shredder, so I did a lot.
Pretty much everything?
Yes.
Did you enjoy that type of work?
I did.
You said that you were in evidence. Tell the jury what you mean by being in evidence. Where did you sit every day? What did you do? What was that job like?
Okay. The evidence department for the sheriff's office is at the headquarters building. There's 3 individuals that work in the department. We receive the evidence, log it in as per code sections for the state of Georgia, follow all the rules of chain of custody, preserve the chain of custody, provide the evidence when needed for court, so things like that.
When evidence is collected, as it is in this case, at some point it physically has to come into the sheriff's office. What is the procedure for evidence to come in, and where does it go, and how is it secured? Is it just like a big room, or tell the jury, kind of describe what the evidence process and location is?
It's a large climate-controlled warehouse, generally speaking. We do have some exterior areas, but there are prescribed methods for storing anything that's got DNA or anything like that. It has to be climate-controlled. There are different areas where different types of evidence are stored: money, drugs, jewelry, guns, things like that. So.
Do you have things that you document when evidence comes in and it's logged in?
Yes. We document who we received it from. The deputy will sign their name. At that time, it was to a paper document. Now it's all computerized. And then we mark where we store it, so it's always available.
How particular is the sheriff's office on maintaining exact records and control of the evidence itself?
It's vital. It's the most vital thing you can do. When I left, there were about 28,000 items in evidence. If you aren't careful and don't store it where you say, good luck finding it.
So in this case, I think one of the things you did is at the scene, all the evidence was kind of brought to you, and y'all transport it back to the sheriff's office?
At the time, yes. So that over the first day, it ran into the second day early in the morning. So at that time, anything that was collected, most things that were collected to that point, Rachel Eckert and I brought it back for storage.
So if something was found by an officer, they would bring it to y'all. Y'all would make sure it was properly packaged or whatnot, and then bring it back to the sheriff's office and log it in and do that part.
Correct.
So I think y'all did. Is it true y'all did all the evidence except for the remains and the tractors and the side by side?
Correct.
And so all the other evidence is basically given to y'all and y'all transport back.
Yes.
And then is the evidence as it was in this case? Was it sent to some of it sent to the GBI and tested?
Yes.
And then at times you would go pick things up and bring it back from the GBI, or they would bring it back.
Correct.
When you after you got out of working evidence, or property as sometimes it's referred to, what made you want to get into what I call the CSI aspect?
I am a very curious person, so I like knowing how things work. I like helping solve problems. It was just very intriguing to me, all the various aspects of what goes into the investigation. I am also an avid photographer, and that's a big part of a crime scene. So,
and you and I have had several cases together where you've testified. And would you classify yourself as a big talker or more of a quiet person?
I think you can tell already I'm not a big talker.
Kind of introverted.
Yes.
Thank you for your testimony. You do great. What do you have to do to qualify to be? First of all, what does it mean to be post-certified?
I'm not post-certified, so I can't get that completely correct. But there's training, and then the Peace Officer Standards and Training Council.
You don't have arrest powers, right?
I do not.
So a fully post-certified officer would have arrest powers?
Yes.
And you do not have that? You just work for the sheriff's office as a crime scene technician?
I do.
So you can't go put handcuffs on somebody and arrest them or anything like that?
Oh, not at all.
With your personality and your training, are you the one that goes and interviews people and do things like that?
No, not at all.
You stick to the property, the scene, the evidence?
I like being behind the scenes.
And what type of training have you had to do your job specifically related to crime scene reconstruction or crime scene investigations or crime scene processing crime scenes?
The state of Georgia the post council is the one that has the standards, but they require it's 224 hours of training, such things as bloodstain pattern analysis. There's 3 different types of fingerprint classes, general crime scene investigation, photography. So those are the main ones. Additionally, in 2022, I went to the National Forensic Academy in Tennessee, which was 400 more hours. And
400? What'd you do there?
Some of the similar classes, but expanded. I've also had 2 classes of shooting reconstruction. I've had a couple of anthropology classes of excavating bodies, some other minor courses.
Do you find your job at times challenging or
absolutely
complicated at times or rewarding?
Yes.
Now, these classes that you take, are they just kind of, if you're present, you pass, everybody gets a trophy type thing?
No. Bloodstain pattern analysis and shooting reconstruction have a lot of science behind them as far as physics goes and things like that. So there is some technicalities to it that you definitely need to understand.
So there are standards and things you have to live up to.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know Lieutenant Stewart?
Yes.
I'm not going to ask you about him under oath per se, but good guy. You work with him?
Yes.
Lieutenant Ballard?
Yes.
Let's see. I guess it was it Sergeant or Lieutenant Shaw at the time?
Sergeant.
And then I think you said also Rachel Eckert, who is now in Florida, used to work with you?
Yes.
And were y'all kind of working, you and Rachel at times, working together and doing stuff?
Yes, we were.
And then they would work together, y'all kind of floating between people at times?
Yes.
But you had certain responsibilities in this case, right?
I did.
I want to turn your attention now to July 5th, that Thursday, 2018. Do you remember about what time you got out at the scene?
Approximately 3:20 p.m.
And do you remember how you got there?
I was tasked with going and getting our big crime scene truck, so I drove it to the scene.
You don't have a police patrol vehicle or anything like that? Is a crime scene
at the time,
truck?
I did not. Yeah.
What is in this vehicle that you drove out there?
It just contains generally all the things we could possibly need. So any test kits, equipment, things like that.
And when you got out to the scene, what do you remember seeing when you first got out there?
It was a very bucolic setting. It was very pretty, reminiscent of where I used to work. Horses. I saw the barn across the field. Came up to the house, parked, very nicely landscaped.
Were you surprised to be working a murder there?
Yes.
When you first arrived, what level or what stage were you at and what type of investigation was going on?
There were quite a few personnel there, but Rachel and I were very new, so we were tagging along behind Lieutenant Ballard and Sergeant Shaw. So we followed them to the back of the house just to do a cursory preview, and the area had been cordoned off with tape.
Did you go out to the burn pit?
Yes.
Do you remember what it was like?
It was still smoldering a little bit. I was told it was still hot. I couldn't tell you for sure who determined that. But it didn't appear to have much left that was unburned.
Was the task for the crime scene technicians, was it broken up to certain kind of divide and conquer things at the scene?
Yes.
I think Lieutenant Stewart was doing like the barn and the tractor, and then other people were at the burn pile. I think Shaw was there. What were you tasked with doing?
Once we determined that we were going to wait on the state anthropologist to come assist, I was tasked with photographing the exterior and interior of the residence, just taking overall photos.
A couple of the things we're going to talk about. So you took outside photographs, is that right?
Yes.
And then at some point you went inside to help process, I think, kind of from the kitchen, the basement door to the steps.
Yes.
And then there's some, what I'm calling some blood trails or blood droppings down in the basement that you were, the stairs themselves and also in the basement floor.
Correct.
And then you help package everything and transport everything. And I believe, for the most part, I think you came back another day and would collect a bunch of cartridge cases and things like that.
That was well after the time period.
But I believe like almost a year later, a little over a year later, came back and collected some firearms, ammunition, and other things there.
Yes.
And that was on the back side of the property, is that right?
Yes, the north.
Why is it taking a year for them to go back and get these casings? That's what I want to know. Why is it taking a year? Can anybody explain it to me? Why would something like this take a year to go back and get? I'm really curious because I want to see how you guys feel about it. How would you feel if this was your murder investigation? How would you feel if you were the one that was murdered and this was the type of investigation that you were getting? Would you feel that they have done an adequate investigation? Or would you be hunting some detectives because they really missed the boat on a lot of things? I'm not saying that they didn't do an okay job. I'm going to say an okay job. They didn't do a phenomenal job. They didn't do a great job, but they did an okay job. I understand that this particular part of Georgia does not see murders every single day. I understand that this is probably a very rare occurrence for them. And I want to acknowledge that this is probably not an everyday occurrence. But at the same rate, I feel that there needs to be some accountability for the things that they didn't do their best on so that something like this doesn't happen again in the future. I feel like they need to do a better job of training so that something like this doesn't have the opportunity to happen in the future. Because I really just feel like in many areas they dropped the ball, and I don't believe that they did it on purpose at all. I again just mostly feel like they were very uninformed in how to handle an investigation of this magnitude. I feel that they probably would have done better calling in, you know, some bigger law enforcement that would have had more experiences in murders and crime scene investigation and things like that right off the bat from the start. And again, it's absolutely nothing against them. I just feel like as an organization, they did not have the experience that would be required for something of this magnitude. We're going to go back to the video and I'm going to keep quiet for a little bit.
If I'm northwest corner, I believe.
Now, did you have, I've got, you know how we're marking the evidence is going to be your last name by a number and going through it. Did you have an opportunity to meet with me a couple times and look at all your photographs?
Yes.
And all the photographs that we went over, including photographs, we'll talk about that, were not at the time of the scene, but shows how the house, the furniture in the house, and then sometimes some photographs without furniture in it. In other words, things that were online that showed how the house looked with furniture and without furniture.
Yes.
So Thrasher 1 through 288, did you have an opportunity? Are all those fair and accurate photographs as you know it to be in this case?
Yes.
So this time I'm going to attempt to evidence Thrasher 1 through Thrasher 288.
All right, any objections? All right, they're admitted.
You can either look at these or they're admitted. There's on the screen too, so I'll put them over there in case you want to look at it. Hopefully you can see them on the screen. What I plan to do is kind of walk through the evidence, but arrange it in such a way that we can kind of talk about it as we go. But this is Thrasher 1. Tell us what we're seeing here.
As you come in the driveway from the road, this would be your first view of the house.
Thrasher 2, this pine tree in the middle, can you kind of point to the front door of the residence? Or just is it, I'll move my mouse, is it right here?
Yes.
Thrasher 3, if you're standing on that main floor, that deck that has that round part to it, is this what you would be looking at?
Yes, looking towards the barn.
Thrasher 4, what do we have here?
I believe, that's from the front door looking out.
Now, this is one of those that was from online for the house.
Yes.
If I was opening that front door, this is Thrasher 5. If I'm standing there and looking at this photograph 5, what is in front of us here?
As you walk in the door, that's your first view, is the stairs that go up, or the stairs to upstairs.
If I was standing there and I took a step to the right, what am I going to see?
The kitchen.
And if I took a step to the left, what would I see?
There's a short hallway to a guest bath, and then there's a mud room and a laundry room.
And then those doors right there, halfway down that wall, what is that area there?
It was at the time sort of a library room.
And if I walked down that hallway to the back of the house, would I go to the master bedroom?
Yes.
6, looking back to the front door.
Correct.
7, just looking at an angle going towards the kitchen where a kitchen table is going to be. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
8, what's this here?
Looking back from the front wall of the house towards the kitchen and then into a family room type area past the kitchen.
If I was standing in this photograph, as it appears, and I would walk left, would I be walking to the front door?
Yes.
Now, there's a fireplace on that far wall down there, is that right?
Yes.
Now, going to that fireplace and standing, is this the view you would see in 9, looking back?
Correct.
Kind of moving the fireplaces to my back to the left. Is this another view? So you see there's other doors going out to the other side of the house?
Yes.
Now, I'm not sure technically if you drive up the driveway and go through, if you could drive through the garage, that's kind of, to me, is kind of north. So you got the east side, which is the pond on, and the west side. But both sides of this house had a deck, is that right?
Yes.
One over the pond is round, the other one's not?
Correct.
All right. Looking at 11, where we're standing here, if I walk down this hallway, would the library or study room be on my right?
Yes.
And then was the door here to the left that's open? Where does that lead to?
That goes down to the basement.
Where this is at, I have the mouse, the hand. Did you find what you believe to be blood or blood droppings?
Yes, on the just closest to where the landing ends before you go downstairs.
And I believe there are about 12 steps down. There's a landing, you turn right, then 4 steps down. Is that right?
Yes.
Tell the jury what you found, what type of blood evidence or evidence you found on those steps.
It appeared to be blood that possibly it was attempted to be, or someone tried to clean it up, possibly. It was very dilute looking.
And then once you got on the floor down below, is this the basement where there's a bar?
Yes.
Now, if I walked out the steps and stood off the steps, the bar's in front of you?
Yes.
And then kind of to the right is the living room area?
Yes.
This is Thrasher 13. I'm standing what I call those the American doors. They kind of just slide like this.
Yes.
You know, I call them the American doors. If I'm standing in front of those doors looking back to the steps, is the steps right here where this pointer is?
Correct.
And then this hallway, if you went down that, would that have been Gary's bedroom?
Correct.
And if you came down this hallway, it would lead to his office.
And the media room.
Media room, movie room.
Yes.
Now standing, number 14, if I'm standing kind of at the steps, this is the area here that we're going to be talking about?
Yes. It had a couch and chair.
Now, this is from the internet for the house, but this is Thrasher 15. At the bottom of this photograph, what is here that I've got the pointer on?
The garage.
And then there's I guess a mudroom and laundry room you're referring to?
Yes.
Porch, the front door here?
Correct.
Standing at the front door again. You turn right, goes to what area?
The kitchen area.
If you turn left, comes down to, I think there's a bathroom here.
Yes.
Walk down hallway. What do we have here?
The study or library.
You go up the steps, you go to the second floor.
Correct.
Deck on this left side if you're facing the front door, is that right?
Yes.
Deck on the right side, the big circular deck.
Yes.
Is this where the fireplace is?
Yes.
As I go with the mouse, if you're walking along that deck, you could go, and there's a door here. It goes into the master bedroom.
Correct.
Say 16. This is the second floor.
Correct.
Come up the steps. You have to kind of turn around 180. And then basically on this level, is there two main bedrooms?
Yes.
One room here, then another room, and then a bathroom. Is that right?
Correct.
Thrasher 17, when we're looking at the floor plans of the basement. Coming down the 12 steps, you hang around and go down the 4 here to the landing. Is that right?
Yes.
Walk up a little bit, and then you kind of go to the right, and there's, in this picture it says recreation room, but is this where the Ferrises had the couches and things like that?
Yes, there was a TV in there too.
This bedroom was where Gary's bedroom was at?
Yes.
CPAP machine was in there?
Yes.
Go down this hallway, hang left, there's the movie room or media room.
Yes.
And then here it says workshop, but it was his office.
Correct.
French doors here.
Yes.
Go back to the living room area, the American doors or the sliding open doors here.
Yes.
And for reference, starting at the kitchen, down the steps, all the steps, and then there's going to be blood at the corner leading out into this area, you believe?
Yes.
That was back not that.
I'll rephrase. When you come down the steps here,
Yes.
was there anything leading from this area to this area?
Yes, there were what appeared to be drops of blood.
And then this area, do you end up finding something collecting it?
Yes, there was a projectile.
$18, is that just a picture of the house?
Correct.
19, another picture?
Yes.
20, front door?
Yes.
21, garage?
Yes.
22, front door again?
Yes.
23, showing the porch going around to the master bedroom?
Yes.
24, a view looking at the pond.
Correct.
25, looking back to the...
Okay, so I apologize. There's not a whole lot that I can really say on this at the moment. Um, it's mostly all just evidence pictures of the house and the surrounding areas. Um, I will have more comments on it when we start getting more into like the blood evidence again as well. But for right now, there's just not a whole lot to comment on there. It's mostly, the interior and exterior, and they don't really get into any of the actual evidence of it. Sorry for the dog.
barn.
Yes.
26, this is looking back towards the house from over the pond, is that right?
Yes.
27?
Barn.
28, inside the barn?
Yes.
29, inside the main house, the walking in the front door, seeing the stairs?
Yes.
30, is this the master bedroom?
Yes.
Notice the doors here to
Right.
walk out to the balcony, is that right?
Yes.
Master bathroom?
Yes.
Keep going around. Now this is the bedroom upstairs, the main bedroom.
Correct.
Then what I'm calling the kids' bedroom, the other guest bedroom upstairs.
Correct.
Bathroom. 37, library.
Yes.
38, I guess the dining room.
Yes.
39, the other dining room. 40, the other deck.
Correct.
41, 42, the kitchen.
Yes.
Going back down to the basement. And was this, these are pictures that were online, but was this how the house was mainly furnished when you were there?
Yes, generally speaking.
Now, Thrasher 47, we're getting into photographs that you took on July 5th, 2018, is that right?
Correct.
Tell the jury what we're seeing here. So this is when you're at the scene. Do you do this first or do you do other stuff first?
Typically we do a brief walkthrough just to get, information from whomever was first responders is what typically happens. So we had walked around the back first, and then I came back and started photographing once tasked to do that.
This is the first one, I think, in your series. 47.
Yes.
48. 49. And what do we have down here? What type of livestock can you tell?
I think it's goats. Goats, looks like. I don't recall the goats from the time period, but they made it in my picture. So.
All right. 50. What is this?
The front door, leading to the front door.
51. You're going to be walking, I guess, around the east side of the house. 52. 53. 54, 55, 6, 7, 58 now to the other side.
Yes.
59, 60. Picture of, what's 61?
They had a chicken coop. It had storage too, I believe.
And then 67 is showing a walkway down to the basement area.
Yes.
Did you have information of where Gary was living in the house and where the defendant was living in the house?
I believe I was informed of that prior to going in, but I couldn't tell you exactly who may have passed that information along.
All right, 68, this is a picture of the stairs.
Yes.
This is if you walk in the front door and turn left, is this what we would see?
Yes.
And what is that down at the end? I think it's in the next picture, just a bathroom?
Yes.
Now, if you're standing at the front door and you turn right, is this the view that we see in 71?
Yes.
Now go and stand where you're at in 71 and kind of look to the kitchen. Is this how the house appeared? This is the state of the house when you came on July 5th?
Correct.
Opulent, lots of stuff there, nice things.
Very nice.
73, still the kind of kitchen area.
Yes.
74, looking back to the front door. Uh, 78, I noticed you got a dog in the picture there.
I did.
Yeah. 79. We just walked through the house. Did you notice anything out of the ordinary on the first level there?
Just the blood droplet at the top of the stairs.
Now we're going to move upstairs. No, this will be the master bedroom.
That's on the main floor, yeah.
Okay.
That's
So let me back up to Thrasher.
Okay, so nothing was out of the ordinary except for a solitary drop of blood at the top of the stairs. A singular drop of blood. Is it just me, or does this seem like the crime does not fit the evidence? I'm sorry, I have seen how much blood comes from a gunshot wound. I live in the ghetto, people. Like, I really do. I live in the ghetto in Pittsburgh. And so, yes, like, I've seen what a gunshot wound looks like. I have seen, sadly, one of my neighbors end up wounded from a gunshot. And it was just his foot. It wasn't like a chest wound. It was literally just my neighbor's foot. And there was still a lot of blood. It was all over his porch. It was all over his steps on his porch. It was all over the sidewalk, the road. It was a mess. I remember being outside helping one of the neighbors clean up the blood. You know, so yeah, like, and again, this was just his foot. And I don't mean that to sound minimizing, but I feel like a gunshot wound to like the chest that could have potentially have nicked an artery or a ventricle or you know, hit the heart or the lungs or any number of things that reside in and near the chest cavity. Like, I feel like a lot of that stuff would bleed significantly more. So yeah, like, I feel like the lack of blood evidence is very strange, and I feel that it's very telling. Let's see what else they have to say.
'94. We're standing at the door, looking into the master bedroom. Is that right?
Yes.
The bed in the room.
Correct.
The door.
Out to the porch.
And then going around the room back to the door.
Yes.
We going into the bathroom now?
Yes.
Now, 108, are we on the back deck?
Yes.
111, this is outside of the master bedroom?
Yes. Yes. It's upstairs.
Beginning of 115, we're going into, what room is this we're going to be looking at?
That's sort of a mud room. The door there leads into the garage, and then to the right is where the laundry room
So 115, that's the garage door?
Yes.
If I step down off this step here and turn right, this is the washroom?
Yes.
And is this the state that you found things when you took photographs?
Yes.
Including what was inside that?
Correct.
On states 116. The towels or whatnot in there. 117, door there. Just in the same areas, all
yes. Yeah.
Then states 125, where are we at now?
In the garage.
Do you know this vehicle to be any of the people involved?
I think I was told it may have been Ms. Ferris's vehicle. I'm not sure.
As we go through that, just the photograph of 130, what's this a photograph of?
Wells Fargo receipt. Looks like from an ATM.
And what was the available balance there?
$11,046.85.
131, just more receipts?
Yes.
Looks like this is a receipt from Scottsdale Farm Inc.
It's a nursery.
All right, now these 133, we're going to head upstairs. Is that what you were doing?
Yes.
$136, you stand at the top of the stairs. Is there a bedroom to your left and a bedroom to your right and a bathroom in the front?
Yes.
$141, did you learn that there were some grandkids basically staying over?
I did.
So we're going to be walking what I'm calling the kids' room.
Right.
There was, 3 beds in this room?
Yes.
This would have been on the right, I believe, and then the 2 on the left.
Correct.
Then in this room, looking at 145, I'm just calling it Amanda room because there's a picture of Amanda on the side here as reference. And then now going downstairs to the basement, this is 151. What do we have here?
That's the movie room, theater room.
Just literally a theater room.
Say that, repeat?
Literally, it was a theater room
yes.
to watch movies?
Yes.
All right, now 158, what door are we looking at in this photograph?
That's to his office.
So come down the steps to the basement.
Yes.
Go a little bit to the right, go down the hallway, that's going to be his office.
You would have come down the stairs, take an immediate right, then a left past the bar, and go to the end of the hallway.
You took photographs just of the office, how it was.
Yes.
And this was, what date were you doing this?
It was July 5th.
And they took a picture of the broken dish there?
Yes.
$177 standing at the office looking back down the hallway towards the living room, if you would, in the
Yes.
bar. Down this hallway, what's going to be down here?
On the far end would have been his bedroom.
$185. What do we have here on beside Gary's bed?
It's a CPAP machine.
This is 188. How long were you on the property processing everything? We went through it fairly quickly, but I imagine you were there for hours.
I arrived around 3:20 p.m. and then went past midnight. We probably left, I would guess, 1:30 in the morning, the next morning, somewhere around that time.
Long time.
Long time.
What I want to talk about now is, as we go through 189, you taking photographs and document what you believe to be blood and clean up?
Yes.
191, is there anything significant in this photograph?
Parallel, if the door were shut, there is a blood droplet what appears to be a blood droplet right there adjacent to the door if it was in a closed position.
How did y'all find it? How did you see it?
I believe in the initial walkthrough, we were told that there was some in that area. So we were just very careful about following, proper protocol and looking very carefully before we went forward.
From this area right here, the steps at the top and the kitchen leading down to the basement, is it, I think 12 steps down, is that right?
Approximately, yes.
192, 193, 194. Just closer up of what you believe to be blood.
Yes.
195. Has a photograph here of the steps. What catches your attention with these?
The first step, there's just what I would consider a very diluted possible blood stain. It looks the second white pattern from the right. There's an area there that appears to be stained.
All right, so 196. What are these spots here?
Those were darker. We were not sure as to what that was, but anything we would note anything that possibly could be blood stains.
197. Looking back, a different angle. What do we have here?
Correct. The same. There's as you go down the stairs, there were similar dilute patterns and the dark stains on lots of the steps.
Okay, are you talking about these stains here?
Yeah. Yes.
So this right here, what is this to you?
That it could be a attempt at cleanup. It's hard to say.
And then these are other things you're saying could be blood. Is it consistent with blood?
Yes. I mean, it's a little bit darker than I would think, but you can't know without possibly testing.
As we go on down, you're taking closer photographs of these droppings, is that right?
Yes, you get one shot at a crime scene, so you photograph everything you can.
All right, 205, what is this pattern here?
Similar stains, but darker.
Now, how would you think that was consistent with blood being cleaned up?
Possibly. Bloodstain pattern analysis, different substrates, whatever the blood hits, it will react differently. So it, to me, does appear that there was attempt because it's a little bit broader than if it was just a drop.
207, same thing?
Yes.
208, same thing?
Yes.
And then 212, what do we have here?
Just more of the darker stains that we documented.
On 213, what do we see here?
If I'm standing at the bottom of the step, I am looking towards the bar, and to the right corner where the trim ends on the floor, there, I believe there was a stain there. Yes.
This is 214, we're talking about right here?
Yes.
On 234, we're coming back to the wall.
Yes.
And it's going to be a little hard to see here, but what are you picking up here?
There is a stain, a single stain, looks like from the picture approximately a foot off the wall in the middle of the picture as you have it right now.
Right here?
Yes.
So I'm talking about right here.
Correct.
.237, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Is that consistent with a blood pattern?
Yes. The texture of the floor can change the pattern a little bit, but yes.
238, you're going to come back and mark these with evidence markers, is that right?
Correct.
So, but we're talking about this area of the floor?
Yes.
So as we get closer to 241, is this what drew your attention?
Yes.
Now 242, we're here at, what is this thing here in the middle?
It's a floor lamp.
And what's behind it?
That would have been a chair.
And looking down at the side of the floor, what did you take a photograph of?
Just the blood stain adjacent to the floor lamp.
And then 244, another picture?
Yes.
All right. Thrasher 245, tell the jury why it's systematic, it's tedious, yes. We've talked about that, the jury knows what's going on, but you take, I guess, bare photographs and you come back and mark them, is that what you do?
Yes.
And why do you do that?
You want to show the scene as you found it. So before you alter it at all, you take photographs initially. And then we will go back and mark items of evidence as we find them.
Here we got Thrasher 245, this photograph. Tell us, kind of for the record, from the light itself, where that in front of the ottoman with the marker 1, walk us through the numbering and where it's going to in the photograph.
Okay. So this is in the basement next to that floor lamp. Ahead at the end of the hall was his bedroom. To the right is the bar. So the bloodstain pattern, the drops seem to turn to the right and going, I can't say towards or away from, but the numbers follow a line that lead towards the stairs, and then up the stairs is how we numbered them.
The numbering, 1 starts on this end and 4, that is not, you're not saying 1 was here, then next. It's just,
no, I'm not.
Those are just markers.
Yes.
And you don't know if it started at 4 and came this way or started at 1 and went that way.
Correct.
You just know it is what it is.
Yes.
Looking at 1, did you get a close up here for 247?
Yes.
Tell us, describe the what you believe to be blood and the pattern. Is there anything about that from your training experience that tells you anything?
I review these extensively, and if there is a fast motion of blood falling off of something with the object or person moving, it will create a distinct pattern with what you saw, the spines that come off the drop. So typically, if it's moving quickly in one direction, the spines will all typically be in that direction. These were more broad, kind of in all directions, which would lend me to think that it was a slower motion and it probably was dropping almost straight down.
Now, I'm going to stop here for just a second because I really enjoy the way that she explains how the movement will affect the blood as well. But I still feel like the prosecution is lacking a little bit here. And I don't know if it's in the presentation or what. But I really feel like they're just not getting the whole thing. We still have quite some time on this video. And my husband and I are not doing our family night tomorrow. We still have like 3 hours of this. So I will save this for tomorrow for day 3. And we will continue to go over this for day 3. I am going to change the time of my live tomorrow since we are not doing family night unless you guys want me to keep my live. If you guys want me to keep my live for around the time that it's at, then I'm going to push it back to 11 instead of 10:30. But I don't think a half an hour will really make a difference. I will post on my Facebook page a poll so that we can decide if I'm going to change the time to a half hour later or if I'm going to change my time to just overall a little bit later in the day. So yes. I look forward to seeing everybody, and I'm also going to post this on my Facebook as well. And I will let you guys do a poll over there as well. Thank you guys for sticking with me tonight. I hope everybody has a great evening. Don't forget to check out our supported creators. These guys are amazing. We have Crime with Bobby. Bobby is an amazing creator. I met him when he was reporting on the Joseph Couch manhunt in London, Kentucky. I have Melissa Jade. She is a true crime conspiracy theorist. She's really awesome. She makes sure that she does a lot of fact checking. She does a lot of prison calls. She has covered the Letitia Stout calls. She has covered the Letitia Stout trial. She even did a deep dive on the trial, which I absolutely love. She is currently going over Leilani Simon. She's finishing up with Letitia Stout. And she is working on Wade Wilson jail calls and the sexy calls. The sexy calls are not as fun as I'm making them sound, but yes. And then last but not least, we have the lovely Alex Erickson. I apologize. I was trying to say Allie Erickson and Alex Erickson all at one. But huge shout out to Allie. I found her as a content creator while she was working with a couple other creators on the Letitia Stout case while they were going over the beginning of the jail calls. And so, yes, these are just a few of the many creators that I support. I will be making more shout outs for other creators as well that I support. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you so much to the amazing creators that I support, for all of your guys' hard work. Please make sure to follow me on my socials. I have my Facebook up there, and right above that is my email. It's split weird. I don't know why. But thank you so much, everybody, and I hope to see you all tomorrow.